Yo. What's up, man?
Good evening. Good evening. How are you?
I'm good. I stayed up very late last night because the never-ending saga of my homeowner insurance claim is still
Yeah.
going on, and so I had to review all of my documents for my guy, and I had to tell the adjuster what numbers he needed to put in the document because I'm on adjuster number 3 right now. It's as fun as it sounds. I know that you're all like dying to
Right.
live my life right now. But
Huh.
yeah, I stay up till 1 a.m. Working on the scope of work for Allstate. So I don't know if I should say anything because I have to go to sue these guys. So I'll leave it at
Right.
that. But
Yeah.
that was my fun night. So
Cool.
how are
Awesome.
you?
I'm okay. I had the foot surgery
The,
last week,
the toe
so
scraping.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's the way I described it. It's a Jolly Rancher sized hole that was scraped in between my big toe and the toe beside it
Uh,
to remove a precancerous mole. So yeah,
Wonderful. That
recovering from
sounds
that.
that sounds like so much fun. I know.
Yeah.
I will actually take my Allstate problem over the Jolly Rancher hole in the toe. Like,
No, I'm not taking that, dude.
all right, man.
Oh,
So you and I joked around before we launched all this. Tonight's kind of economist night and analyzing what's happening because everybody's favorite headline in housing right now is like, man, Biden's going to crash the housing market. He's going to crash the stock market. And he's gonna
no.
crash the Trump train, and he's just going to crash. And so like, it's fun. It's fun to have a big headline, and I'll be honest, he's not going to crash anything. I hate to like be the
Yeah.
bearer of bad news. Like he's not coming for your housing, and your value's not going to dip. But it's fun to talk about. And we'll tell you why. Like we're gonna spend we got a little less than 13 minutes. I'm gonna go over to our comments and I'm gonna leave you Biden's housing plan so you can see in depth what we're talking about. But in this, I'm gonna explain to you, and Alex is gonna explain to you why we do not believe Biden is going to do anything of detriment to the housing market. Then we're going to talk through the vaccine, what that's going to do to your home value. We are going to talk about rents, where they are headed for those of you who have been renting and are looking at re-upping your lease. And then finally, we're going to talk you through when the housing market is going to crash or correct. Crash sounds way better. Correction's probably actually what's going to happen. So we'll walk you through all that. So jumping in with President-elect Joe Biden. Alex, what do you see that he's doing? And I'll talk you through what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's been a lot of talk of just like how election will affect everything, and I really don't think there's going to be a huge splash. I think everything is really going to be dependent upon the vaccine. So I'll start with that.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We know that Biden has a proposed plan for a $15,000 first-time home buyer credit. Obama had a similar plan when he was in office. We know this one's different a little bit because the way that the buyer would get the funding is actually on the front end of the transaction and not like as a credit on their tax returns that year. So that's a big deal.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, you think about that, guys. Like if you are an FHA buyer here in Greater Gwinnett County, your limits are upwards of $400,000 on that loan, and an FHA buyer is putting 3.5% down. That means the government, if you're a first-time home buyer, is basically paying your down payment. That's how incentivized they are and how much they believe in sustaining the housing market and sustaining that anchor of established families and growing individuals. That's how much they believe in housing. They're willing to literally solve your down payment problem at a $400,000 price point. So,
yeah, I mean the flip of the Biden plan on that is they could get rid of the 1031 exchange, which is a very complicated thing to get into, but at its very basics, it's a way for people that own real estate already to develop more real estate, to use money they make to develop more land. And so if that method goes away, then there's going to be a slowdown, I think, of new housing for land purchases and that type of thing. And that's never really good, but I mean, it's going to have an impact.
Yeah,
I think that the demand for new housing is just going to continue skyrocketing.
No doubt.
Especially in our area.
No doubt. I'm so glad you talked about that, because when we talk about 1031s, which again, guys, it's the ability for someone to sell an asset, and as long as they buy a like or a similar asset within 45 days, they don't pay capital gains tax. It's how the vast majority of builders or real estate investors avoid paying these massive, massive tax bills because they use a 1031 exchange. And what that means for you as you are looking to buy a house, if you are considering your next house being new construction, well, new construction may take a significant step backward if the 1031 exchange goes away, because and frankly, every builder I know uses a 1031 to go out of one subdivision and go into another one. And if they lose the ability to do that, obviously it significantly decreases the supply of housing, which frankly is the entire reason why the market has gone up 15.3% in the past 12 months. And the majority of that has been over since COVID in March. And so you think about that number extrapolated out. I mean, guys, if you bought your home even 12 months ago, you're sitting on way more equity than you realized. And that's probably going to continue for at least the next 16 to 18 months, which is really going to, if you own a house now or you own a house in the near future, you're going to do very well, more than likely, over the next 18 months to 2 years. And if you are trying to get in the market and looking at this first-time home buyer incentive credit that Biden is bringing to the table, and again, we put his entire housing conversation and what he wants to bring to the table in the comments. So you can click on that link, read everything we're saying, not making it up. You want to use that incentive as soon as possible, because there is not going to be this massive supply that magically hits the market. Like, even if these people who are in forbearance, they are behind on their mortgage, even if those houses do get foreclosed on, or those people do choose to list their house rather than lose their home, that amount of inventory still doesn't even get us to a neutral market. And so there is going to continue to be this massive demand on housing that is going to keep the housing costs and the value of homes way up. Now, the vaccine, we talked about that really quickly. Yeah. Give me the 30-second version of that, why that's important to housing.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely the biggest piece of news. I think the last week, I want to say Pfizer, it's Pfizer.
Yep.
Announced, they did a trial of the vaccine, 45,000 people, and is 90% effective. So that's super promising. Excuse me.
Which is more than the measles vaccine and shingles, by the way, just so everyone knows.
So, I mean, that is a signal of like light at the end of the tunnel, right? Who knows what the timeline and is going to be for that over the next year or so. But like, if we're out of a pandemic season, what's happened in this season is a lot of people started working from home.
Yep.
Right. As it relates to real estate, so a lot of times people move because they need to be near where they work. That's just for them. A lot of people, that's just not the case right now. So the demand for larger homes, for homes with a bonus room, for an office, that type of thing.
Burbs, man, the burbs.
They've gone up. I think that trend will continue because I think a lot of companies have adapted and have found working from home to be effective and, fiscally responsible. So I think we'll see, that bounce back a little bit, but I think the trend for larger homes with that extra room is going to increase.
Absolutely. Sure. I can't tell you how many friends, buddies, clients I have who are very much entrenched in corporate America. And they have honestly looked me in the eyes and said, man, I don't know if I'll ever end back at the office, back in downtown, back in Buckhead. Like, I don't think that's ever going to happen. I think I will be working from home from now till forever. And so people's lives are really orienting around that work from home thing because businesses are finding out how much money they save doing that. And so while that vaccine is really going to shift some availability of housing where people, maybe you've been sitting on the sidelines waiting for all of this to come down before you list your house, there may be a nominal increase as a result of a vaccine, but what it is definitely going to do is push people back into the buying position as the economy picks back up as a result of the vaccine. So you're going to see even more buyers jump into the market once that vaccine comes into play. Yeah. And we believe, because the data says it, that that's going to be very active in the suburbs here in this Northeast Greater Gwinnett quadrant in our area. Now that will change metro to metro, state to state, but here in our area, we see that Greater Gwinnett Northeast area is going to be a hotbed over the next 18 months plus as a result of people reorienting their lives to more space, the pool, all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah.
So we have that. Let's go here. Let's talk through it because you and I get this question all the time, and it's fun to talk about. The market is going to crash, right? Like, it's inevitably going to crash.
Of course.
What's funny, even people, they're saying to me, Mark, like, you keep talking about how housing prices are going to continue to go up. Like, is that even sustainable? And the example I would give you is our neighbors up in the north. Like, go look at the housing data associated with Canada over a 5-year window. They went through a very similar process that we are going through now with housing significantly shooting up, where in a 5-year window, they went from the average house price being right below $250 to now it sits in the mid 600s over a 5-year window, and it has sustained that value. So I would contend that our economy can handle those price points, and frankly, I do think that is where it's headed. And so I'm telling everyone in my ecosystem, whether they work with us or not, now is the time to get involved in the market, because it is going to continue to go up. And if you do not now, you are going to lose a potential opportunity that is very, very significant to your bottom line. So we look at rates, we're looking at all that, interest rates. I think we're going to stay around the 3s. There's even some projections that have us dropping below 2 in this next calendar year, depending on how the economy responds and so on. And I think it could happen. I think it could happen. I think the data is there. I'm not saying it's some guarantee. Like, I'm not pulling out the crystal ball here. I will pull out the crystal ball and say the housing market is not going to crash. I don't think we'll even have a correction until mid-2022. 2022. And that may not even be the case, just to be frank with you. Part of what Biden has brought to the table is he's wanting to put in a homeowners and renters bill of rights, similar to what we see in California and modeled after what is happening in Canada, which it slows the process of foreclosure and eviction down, and it creates like foreclosure here in Georgia. We're non-judicial, which means no one takes you to court. They just put a sign on your front door, ends up on the courthouse steps, and when it sells, you're out of here. Right. What Biden is wanting to bring to the table is a series of protections for you as the homeowner that allow you to either push those payments to the back of your loan or pay interest only, or various things to make sure that you do not lose that asset, because our government understands exactly what you and I both understand, that housing is it is as core to the American dream and the American spirit as anything on the planet. It is near and dear to everything that we represent as a nation. And so the dignity that comes with owning a home and having that is very substantial for the government. And so they really want to guard and protect that. And so I truly do not see, and I am not even using my personal finances. I shared with you guys last week, I'm in the middle of buying a quadruplex in Anderson, South Carolina. I'm not sitting on the sidelines right now. Once I buy that one, I'm going to refi it, pull cash out of it, and I'm going to go look for another project, because I believe that there's substantial opportunity right now. When everybody else is sitting on the sidelines, that's when there's opportunity. So, man, that's what I'm seeing. Same thing for you? Yeah. Anything different? What you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think if that stimulus bill comes out, or the first-time home buyer $15,000 credit, like, that's going to bring a lot more buyers to the market.
Exactly.
I mean, a lot, because we haven't had that in 5 years now, I think.
Yes, totally.
And combine that with, like, the country's open back up, the fear's gone. Like, there's just going to be a lot of people moving. Like, there's just going to be a lot of, I think someone called it the great reshuffling, because
yes,
people have been waiting to move until they felt safe to do it, until they felt like the economy was safe to do it in, right? So I just think it's going to be just a crazy year in terms of like the amount of like people buying and the amount of people selling too.
Yep. I think
the
culturally
supply will be the same, but yeah.
Right. I think, and we're past time, so we'll wrap this up. I think culturally, we have shifted away from the days where our moms and our dads would live in houses for 20, 30 years. As you literally, this is not Mark's opinion, this is data. The average person stays in their home, depending on age, between 3 and 5 years. Like that is significantly different than the America that you grew up in, and definitely that the America that your grandparents lived in. Very, very different space. People are much more comfortable moving around now. And so you bring all of those people who are on the sidelines as a result of this incentive without the housing supply taking a jump up, which we have no reason to believe that it will at that pace. You and I both know supply and demand. If there's more demand and supply does not increase, that asset is going to grow in value. So if you are sitting here with a home right now, you are going to experience that, and it's going to give you a substantial amount of equity to when you're ready to sell, to go and buy something at a great, great price. So that's our crystal ball. That's our crystal ball for the night. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. We will shoot you a DM personally. We'll bring them next week. But that is our explanation of a super sexy headline, market crashing, and it's not going to crash.
The
and Biden's going to blow it all up. No, you're good. Relax. Take a Xanax. Everything will be fine. If you don't have a prescription, don't take a Xanax. Go to your doctor. I'm Mark McMinn.
I'm Alex Morrison.
Later, y'all. Have a good night.